I am Chris Chappell. I'm the Conservation and Brewshed Program Manager at Washington Wild. So we are standing in front of the south location of Chuckanut Brewing Company. They are a member of our Brewshed Alliance. So the Brewshed Alliance is basically craft breweries supporting conservation work under the idea that in order to have good beer, you need safe, clean drinking water. In order to have that great drinking water, you need healthy watersheds as the water flows down from the mountains, the beautiful cascades behind us, and to the breweries that use that water in their beer. And I am a firm believer that here in the Pacific Northwest, we have some of the best beer on the planet, and that's because we have great locally sourced ingredients. So hops grown in the Yakima Valley, grain grown around here in the Skagit Valley, and then also malted here locally, Skagit Valley malting, and grain grown on the east side. But then also that clean mountain water is very, very, very great and makes brewing much easier. And so we really need to protect that resource. So the Brewshed Alliance is a group of craft breweries, hop growers, maltsters, pubs that, like I said, come around this idea of good beer depends on healthy water. So we've got about a little over 70 of these businesses that support our conservation work through a number of ways and support conservation in general here in Washington. So they would do fundraisers for us, do pub educational events, in normal times. We also do a number of charity collaboration beers throughout the year. And then also the really important thing is these breweries support our conservation work through signing on to advocacy letters that we do. So either, supporting or opposing some kind of, conservation efforts here in the state. Currently there is a pending mining permit in the headwaters of the Skagit River. So the Skagit River actually's headwaters are in British Columbia. It crosses over the border and flows through North Cascades National Park, and then down here through the Skagit Valley and out to the Sound. So a company called Imperial Metals wants to put a gold mine in the headwaters of the Skagit. And the thing is that Imperial Metals has a really terrible history of polluting waterways in BC. They caused the Mount Poly mine disaster, which a drainage pond from the mine seeped into a local waterway, and it was a whole mess. So we're really working to kind of prevent that from happening again in the headwaters of the Skagit River. Because what happens upstream, if there is some kind of mine leak, this whole area and the agriculture that depends on it and the landscapes, in the mountains and potentially the Sound and orca populations and salmon populations could be affected by this. So the coalition that opposes the mine is international. So we have environmental groups, municipalities, First Nations, tribes, businesses, downstream stakeholders are all working together to oppose this mine. So it's a group of over 250 on both sides of the border, which is really unique for these kinds of conservation issues that we've got. Part of this effort to oppose the mine, we've been sending a number of letters to Premier Horgan, the British Columbia Premier, to ask him to deny this mining permit. And so we had a stakeholder letter from Washington. Different municipalities have done letters or resolutions opposing this, and so we came up with the idea of doing a beer that acted as a letter of sorts. So we're working with Fair Isle Brewing Company to do a beer in opposition to the mine or to a potential mine in the headwaters of the Skagit River. So we worked with our friends at Fair Isle, who are a strong Brewshed Alliance supporter, to come up with a beer that kind of showcased the bounty that the Skagit River provides. So we're using grain donated by Skagit Valley Malt that's both grown in the Fraser Valley where the headwaters are located, but also here in the Skagit Valley, and then it's all malted at Skagit Valley Malting. Then we're also using blueberries from the valley, from Bow Hill, and then we are also going to forage for conifer tips, kind of showing the agricultural side of what the river provides, but also the natural side in, foraging for those tips. So I think there's a real synergy in the kind of work that Washington Wild does in advocacy and with Skagit Fisheries Enhancement Group does in the restoration work, because we're really working to protect these watersheds and protect the investment that's gone into it by groups like the Skagit Fisheries. and that, some kind of mining disaster really just kind of wipes the slate clean of all this great work that y'all have done. You're fighting the threats to the watershed into the river, and you're working to enhance and make the ecosystem stronger. Through these Brewshed partners, we're able to expand our audiences and reach new people about these threats to our wildlands and waterways, and really getting people involved that may not be in the conservation world or the environmental advocacy world, through beer, which is one of those classic Pacific Northwest pastimes.